Future's now, old man.
What to do, Waterloo? This is Future First Podcast, where we help you win today with a Future First mindset. I'm your co-host, J-Mac, here with my co-host, Jose. What's going on tonight, man?
Not much, J-Mac. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there who celebrates. That's when we're recording this. You guys will probably see it, I think, Monday come around. But yeah, hopefully you guys are having a good weekend. Maybe you're getting out of town for the long weekend. Maybe we'll be, in your ears and through your car as you drive out somewhere. But thank you guys for listening. I've had a pretty good day, J-Mac. How about yourself?
Yeah, it was good, man. Yeah, we had a good Valentine's Day. My wife was pretty upset that I bought my Dynasty trophy flowers and not her. Um, I'm joking. No, it was a good day, man. We spent most of the day outside, just kind of hanging out, doing the thing. Taught my son how to make your Valentine feel special. So that was cool. Good life lesson to learn. But yeah, man, I'm ready to talk some rookie prospects here. We're gonna dive into the running back class here, and as I was diving into it, I feel like we got more than just Jeremiyah Love. Maybe there's some sneaky guys, and maybe not. Maybe not sneaky. Maybe they're just blatantly right there in front of us, and it's only a matter of time before the NFL recognizes it, before we take account for it in rookie draft ADP. But before that, roster review services. We're still doing those. We have shout out to Hell, who's sent in a review for us. We got our work cut out for us on that one. Or Hal, it'll be a good one. I was looking at it today. Thanks for listening, and we're gonna dive into that and get you some solid advice moving forward on that 10-team league there. But if you guys are looking for a roster review, we'll review your dynasty rosters and provide you some roster construction feedback, give you general moves and a few specific moves to make to improve your team. One thing that I wanted to highlight that I like to dive into when I look at a roster review is looking at the WAR and determining what positions are priority and which ones should have the most value going into that. I think that really highlights what moves need to take place to get your roster into the right move. So we do take a look at that, and it's a great place to start. But then we dive in deeper, look at your roster, look at the league's rosters, figure out where there's abilities to kind of move around, either with draft picks or with players, and we'll give you a where you stand in that as well. Or if you have a startup coming up and you want a tailored draft strategy for that startup, let us know. We'll review that too. I'm looking forward to doing one of those. If anyone out there wants us to do one, that's one of my favorite things to do, is to dive into a startup and look at the ADP, especially when you have these weird, quirky leagues with either like points per carry or, like 2 tight end premiums with 2 tight ends, something crazy like that. It's always fun. All right. Nonetheless, it's $5 a team. You can send your roster review requests to futurefirstpod@gmail.com if you're interested, and we'll send you guys some more information. And then to promote the roster reviews, we're doing a free team review giveaway. Just make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below to enter into the giveaway. And please do that on our home channel, Future First Podcast. If you are listening over on Player Profiler, make sure you're jumping over to our channel, drop a follow, drop the subscribe, a like, comment while you're there. And while you're there, make sure to touch down on that like button and go for 2 on the subscribe. And if you're catching this on the Player Profiler Network, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you guys over there as well. You can also follow us on Spotify and Apple Pods or anywhere else you get podcasts. And shout out to Fox, who's been helping us with our graphics. You can follow her on X at bfoxworth07. And shout out to McGrumble, who's been helping us with all our stats. You can follow him on X at ff_McGrumble. All right, we got a lot to get to here. So let's get into it, man. We got the 2026 rookie running back class here lined up to talk about at least the top end guys. But before that, a quick hit, Jose. Are you ready, man?
Let's do it, brother.
All right, for today's quick hit, I wanted to go over a process trade that I made in a best ball league. It's a 10-team superflex tight end premium. There's a little bit of emphasis and premium on the running backs. I think they get an extra half point per reception for the running backs. So they hold quite a bit of war value there. But my team, we did the startup last year. I drafted heavily into running backs and made it a compete now team. I think like my first 5 picks were running backs. I took Devon
Damn.
Achan. Yeah, I went heavy. I got some studs too. I went
The high
Achan.
T.
I did. Yeah, it was like Achan, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, and then I forget who number 5 was. But there was a 5th one that kind of went in there as well. And I made a run at it and I did pretty well, but my team just kind of fell flat at the end of the year. All my quarterbacks just died. It was Tua, Penix. I eventually had Joe Flacco. I traded at one point for Carson Wentz. I had Kyler Murray. So like my quarterback room was just like deteriorating and I was trying to patch it together. I think I was starting Phillip Rivers at the end of it. But it was a good run at it. I think I made it to the semifinals and lost. But I'm looking to, as you can tell, like as I'm reading off these guys in the team, it's a little older on that front. But in best ball, I feel like you can kind of toe that line a little bit. But nonetheless, Kittle was on that team and Alvin Kamara was also on that team. And I wasn't really sure what to kind of do with assets like that on a team where it's already aging out. I still feel like I can compete, but these guys aren't going to help me in the next couple of years. And if they age out in the next couple of years, like what am I going to do with these guys at that point in time? I feel like it was the time to get off these guys. So I sold Kittle for the 208 straight up, and then Kamara for the 302 straight up. And I guess before I kind of give my reasoning on it, I guess what is your immediate thoughts on those 2 trades right there?
Just like with how much I kind of dislike the class, I feel like those are even kind of like lower tier, but it is one of those things that it's like, if you want to sell, like that's kind of what I feel like you're going to get. Maybe, there's a little bit more to be squeezed, but not very much. So I don't hate it right off the bat, given all the context that you did. My only thought always is like, is there a way you could have held into the season when Kittle's playing and gotten a little bit more with Kamara? It's like, if he somehow comes back to life and all of a sudden, well, you're going to get burned. But it's just as likely that maybe they draft one of these running backs that we're going to talk about today, and, he's pretty much a useless asset. So the Kittle one is the one where I was like, oof, could you have like roughed it out a little bit, waited? But otherwise, I think the process and the way you did it makes sense.
Yeah, honestly, the Kittle one was really hard to pull the trigger on. But at the same time, given he tore his Achilles at 32, and there's news that he might be back for the 2026 season. I doubt it's going to be for the start of the 2026 season. If anything, it'll be midway through, and he's probably not going to be him full self going forward. And then that means he's playing when he's 34. He's playing football again when he's 34, and it felt like at that point in time, no one is going to really give you a fair value for what his production is going to bring to your squad. And on top of that, there's also the cost of rostering Kittle in a best ball format, right? Having him as a dead asset on your lineup is actively hurting your squad. So if you want to contend, it doesn't feel like he can be part of that plan. And the 208, and granted, also like you got to think 10 teams, so you treat this more like the 206 when you're looking at it from a 12 team perspective, which is how we generally view these. When we see 208, we think, oh, that's the back end of the second, when it's more likely, or more realistically like the 18th pick in a league versus like the 20th pick. I felt like I wasn't going to get a better offer than that. Even a year from now or 2 years from now, maybe I get an early second at best. Like if someone feels really committed that he's going to come back and get there, it just felt like I was actually shocked that the offer came in. And at first I was like, oh man, that kind of sucks. Like that Kittle's value is that low, but I was like, hey, I could get a second for Kittle right now. And yeah, it's not a great class, but maybe that pick brings me some flexibility to move around in the draft later and on when we're on the clock or something like that. And the Kamara one was like, get off my squad. I'm done. Like I didn't draft him. I got him as a trade, as a throw in, and I was whatever. Like my running back room is so stacked already. He was doing nothing and almost just a dead asset on my team. As far as last year was concerned, no one wanted to trade for him. So when that 302 came in, just boom, give it to me. I mean, again, in a 12-team league, that's the 210, right? So it felt good kind of getting something, anything. Like you said, like Jeremiyah Love is being mocked to the Saints right now. If he goes to the Saints, Kamara is just dead weight on any squad. So those were the process, like just getting these non-producers, these zeros or, close to zeros off my squad so that I can give some sort of flexibility, even if it's draft picks in a weak class. Like it gives me something to kind of more flexibility than these guys would bring come draft day.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, obviously, like I was poo-pooing because of what the picks are, but like if you can turn both of those picks into usable asset, either in the draft or just take those two picks and go trade for an older vet that can help on your contending window, then you turn two dead assets for 2026 into one usable asset, right? Like I mean, there is a package in or a world where you turn the 2.8 and the 302 into some different older crusty guy, but that's actually going to be playing and scoring points, So I definitely think it's the type of roster construction and the type of things that if you're thinking about now, even if it's a start sit league, best ball, obviously it even helps even more, but that if you can be doing in February as opposed to the people that are sitting around not really doing anything. So
yeah, and I think another like benefit of this is this guy just kept coming back. He was like, oh, this guy's like willing to trade. Like a lot of people are not willing to trade this time of year. Some people are kind of scared, but he was just sending me more offers. Most of them were trash. And he's like, I hope you don't mind me sending you. I'm like, dude, I'll field offers all day. Like I get excited when I see that little notification pop up. And then I lose that excitement when I read your trade offer, but keep sending them. I don't mind. Okay, cool. Yeah, that was just a quick process trade. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Did I sell too low? What do you think of the process? Do you think there was a better way to package these players up and get rid of them? Talk to us. Drop a comment below. Let me know how you guys would have handled it or what you're doing with these assets if you have them at this point in time.
100%.
All right. Now let's pause here and let's let the Podfather come in and talk about the Dynasty Deluxe from Player Profiler. I'm just going to take a minute to plug it here because I use it almost every day. It's a great tool for dynasty players to get in there. There's dynasty rankings you could do. There's a trade calculator. You were talking about a tool the other day where I haven't really looked too much into it. Which one was that one again? Do you remember?
Yeah, so I mean they've got the rookies loaded in there, so they have the values, right? Like the other day on the rookie HQ and other times we've talked about like fantasy calc having values with player profiler. The experts on there go ahead and like rank the players and give them a numerical value, and it's not just their numerical value but their lifetime. You can look at lifetime. There's a lot of great stats. You can do just rookies. You can do an entire a draft planner with rookies without.
That's what
so
it was, yeah.
it's part of their the dynasty package that I'm sure the great Podfather is going to talk about here in a second. But yeah, it was really cool because it has a point value, and no matter what you think of the point value for any site, it's just a good way to wrap your hand around when you're comparing players, especially across positions and to rookies who haven't even played a single down of NFL football.
Yeah, that, and if you get the all-in package too, it comes with the data analysis tab, which gets you all the stats that you'd be looking for when it comes from like PFF and stuff. Like you get advanced metrics there. So if you don't have that kind of subscription already, if you go get the player profiler all-in package, you get that included as well as this Dynasty Deluxe. And if you do get that all-in package, make sure to use code FUTURE, and that will save you guys some money. But we'll let Podfather tell you guys about that.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with superflex and tight end premium controls. And a Dynasty League sync where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams, and then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs, and then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes pick values out to like 2028. All of that plus the rookie guide, $25 value is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to all in and get $25 off.
All right, welcome back. Let's jump in to this 2026 rookie running back class overview. It's not the running back class of 2025. We don't have a lot of top end and honestly like back end talent. This draft is going to be so weird. I think there's going to be like this
I think it's going to be mayhem, panic in the streets when there's only like 5 or 6, like offensive players that are like fantasy relevant go in the first round. Like after that first round, the videos, and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I know we talked about this off air where it's like, man, this NFL draft could be really, really shaky to start that first round in terms of how many offensive players. Maybe it's surprising in teams, after the comment and everything, but it's looking like it could be one of those everybody thinks the sky is falling after round 1.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. The NFL draft is going to be wild for sure. And I mean, that's, less than 2 months away now. So keep that on your radar. And the combine is like almost a week away at this point. We were talking about that yesterday, which is wild. But I think what's going to be happening here is I think a lot of people in their rookie drafts, because we had that last year where those thirds and seconds, people were happy to take shots on these guys. And a lot of them panned out. I mean, you had Woody Marks, Kyle Monangai, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Those 3 were like, people were happy to draft them. I don't think we're going to have that this year, but there may be that sentiment still carrying over from last year. People are still thinking like, I could get a running back in the 3rd, so maybe you guys could use that to your advantage here. But nonetheless, we're going to talk about the top 6 prospects that we see in our eyes here. And really there's one elite guy at the top, that's Jeremiyah Love. And if you haven't watched this tape, you should. If you want to get excited about somebody in this draft class, I would start there. He's a ton of fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think have you felt that there's a little bit of like a Genty hangover because so many people were excited about Genty, which I think was kind of also propped up by like the hype that there was for Bijan, like this elite running back coming out, right? Like prospect. And then he came into the NFL and he was just kind of fell flat, right? Like he was not exciting. It wasn't even like flashes besides like maybe 1 or 2 games. Do you feel like there's almost like a little bit of a hangover? Like I when I talk to people about the 1-on-1, they know it's, going to be Love, but I don't feel like when I'm talking to people, and maybe this is something you could take advantage as well, is like people do not seem so locked in. Like last year when I tried to acquire about 101s, people were like, no, I'm not. Like, and now I get answers like, let's wait for the draft. Let's wait for this. Like, I'm not completely off on selling it. Do you have you kind of noticed that permeating? Like, I don't know. It could just be that Love is not as a good of a prospect as Genty was. That could also be part of it. But, I feel like there isn't that high in excitement as there was last year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think too is the class just isn't as strong. And so I think that people are probably trying to extrapolate that into Jeremiyah Love. And I do think Ashton Genty was probably the better prospect of Jeremiyah Love, albeit I think Jeremiyah Love may have a more like profitable career, or yeah, I guess that's profitable isn't the right word, but we're just going to stick with it here, where he's just built like a little bigger, like a stereotypical running back. Like when you think of someone who's going to dominate, like he's built more like a Bajan than he is a Devon Achan, right? But no, I think that's real. Like we were talking about it on the Rookie HQ, Rookie Market Review, with the show we've been doing over there, and Jeremiyah Love is going at the 20th overall ADP, which puts him at the back of the second. Genty was going in the first round last year, albeit like the end of the first round or like early second. He was getting drafted high in startups. So there's definitely an effect here, whether it's him not being as good as a prospect or maybe it's the hangover effect like you're talking about. From what I've been hearing around the industry, people are talking about Jeremiyah Love as kind of like the fifth best prospect that they've seen over the years, behind Bajan, behind Gibbs, even behind Ashton Genty, and like Saquon Barkley is also in there. So he's definitely up there as far as prospects are going from a film perspective at the very least. But I think that's probably quelling the hype for him. I'm hyped regardless. Like I wish I had more 101s. I want Jeremiyah Love on my team, and I think he's going to land really well here too. I think we kind of knew where Ashton Genty was going last year, and it wasn't going to be to a good team. There's a ton of good teams that just played like crap last year, and so they have a high draft pick, and Jeremiyah Love could go on to any one of those teams here. But
yeah, I mean, I think right now the mock draft database has what you said going to the Saints. I don't hate that, right? Like they're kind of maybe a surprising ascending offense going into next season. So it wouldn't be the worst like end of his career. Like, you wouldn't be so upset like if he went there. I think seeing another running back go in the top 10 would be a little crazy, especially in the same division that that Bijan went into. But I mean, hey, I wouldn't hate that as a landing spot. But like you said, you have the Cowboys who have a decent pick. I mean, obviously, I don't think they're going that way, but nothing would surprise me with the Cowboys.
Jerry Jones.
You have the Chiefs, you have the Saints who are kind of ascending. So you have, like you said, a decent amount of players or picks in that middle of the round. Teams that would be pretty exciting to go with Jeremiyah Love. I mean, to get a little bit, I mean, we're doing an overview and we'll hit some of these players a little bit more. Did you have a graphic we were pulling up, or we
I did, yeah. Do we want to just jump into the Jeremiyah Love graphic since we're kind of already there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, might as well.
Okay.
However, I don't want to, you're the conductor of the train. I don't want to derail us here. I was just, however you want to do it, brother.
Oh boy, don't let me drive a train. All right. No, here we are. We got Jeremiyah Love on the screen here with his 2025 season stats here. He is the RB1 from PFF standpoint here from the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. He's 6 foot, 214 pounds, and he's pretty young, 20.7 years old. So he'd be playing his first snap in the NFL at age 21. Last year, he had 199 attempts, and he rushed for 1,372 yards. He caught the ball 27 times and ran those catches for 280 yards with a total of 18 touchdowns. An impressive 895 yards after contact, which is pretty bonkers. And these next few ones are the breakaway attempts, which are attempts that went for more than 15 yards. He had 23 of his 199 attempts go for 15 plus yards. So that's over 10% of his runs. Yeah, when we look at it. And then his breakaway yards, which is on those attempts that went for 15 more yards, he went 726 yards. So obviously very explosive, which if you watch the film, lines up with what you're watching. He also had 64 missed tackles forced. That's combined between rushing and receiving. And then the elusivity score here is a PFF signature stat that measures the success and impact of a runner with the ball independently of the blocking. And the number by itself doesn't make a ton of sense unless you have comparables to, but take my word for it, 127.5 elusivity score is pretty darn good. And you'll see here as we go through the rest of the prospects that it's up there for the class. Yeah, I don't know, like when you look at these stats on the screen here, does it match what you think of Jeremiyah Love, or did you think he was better than this? Where are you sitting at with him?
Yeah, I mean the stats are always going to be, I think, pretty. It should go with what you see on tape, right? Sometimes they don't match. Sometimes you think, oh, this player looks slower, but I think it goes exactly with kind of what you see on the tape, or even in, like the non-highlight reels, right? Like sometimes with running backs, I like to look a little bit more about like what did the non-impressive plays look like, right? Like what did the 3 yard, the 4, like those sorts of things, like the shorter range, not the highlights, right? And for me, I think he has the home run. He looked like he has the home run, the electric speed, right? He can catch the passes. He has quick feet, and he reminded me a little bit of like that 1 year that Brees Hall had. Is just as like like recent, right? Like when I compare players, I don't like to go too far back because you don't know how long people have been playing fantasy or watching the NFL. So I try to keep it more recent. Like Brees Hall has been in the league, but like now is going to be his 5th year. So he's been in the league a decent amount. But that year that he was having right before the ACL tear, he looked a little bit like that. Like it reminded me of him of Jeremiyah Love, like those two guys. And then, like in the lower end, I think he could be like an Aaron Jones, where maybe that's like high and the low, right? Like that's if I was kind of comparing or thinking of players that are in the NFL right now that I think have similar styles. Obviously, when you're watching Aaron Jones now, he's 30 something and has gone through an injury pretty much every season. But if you think about Packers, Aaron Jones mixing up with AJ Dillon, like
Yeah.
he was a force. I mean, obviously he was not an every down player. I think Jeremiyah Love in the right scheme could definitely be an every down back. He has the the build and the ability to do so. Always you worry a little bit about his ability to block. That seems to be a big thing for coaches in the NFL starting out. Like we heard a lot about Genty and some of these other guys from the last rookie class that they weren't able to pass protect, so they weren't out on the field as much. So that's always part of the puzzle. You don't know how they're going to do that, but I think he eye test and stats wise very clearly is the standout of this class in terms for fantasy and in the running back room amongst all the other rookies. Like it's far and above. I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel here. You're probably, if you're watching other stuff, you're hearing the same thing. There's not too much else to say about Jeremiyah Love.
Yeah, I really like the Brees Hall comp. I never thought of that, but I can definitely see that they move pretty similarly. I think probably Brees Hall is a little bit more of a threat as a pass catcher, but Jeremiyah Love is no slouch. Like 27 catches for 280 yards. One thing I want to point out here about Jeremiyah Love is he put up these stats we're looking at while sharing the backfield, right?
Right.
I mean, he was in pretty much like a 60-40 split with Jadarian Price, who we'll talk about here next, I believe, and was still able to put up almost 1,400 yards on the ground, almost 1,600 yards combined. So you put him in a little bit more of a role, exercise that pass catching ability a little bit more. And yeah, I think Brees Hall is a fine comparison, at least in terms of production, what we could expect from him, especially if he lands really well here. Yeah, man, he is so fun to watch. And this wasn't just 2025 either, right? When you look at what he did, 2024, he had 162 attempts for 1,100 yards, another 28 receptions for 229 yards. In 2023, he had a down season, but that was pretty sure that was his freshman year. So it's like that was him getting into the scene on 72 attempts, put up just about 400 yards. So I mean, he broke out at a really young age at 19, and then his age 20 season just went nuclear, sharing the backfield, by the way. So yeah, I mean, lock in that 101. There's nobody I want more in this draft than Jeremiyah Love, in pretty much any situation. Like I would probably feel okay putting him on my squad in a rebuilder if no one was going to give me fair value for it. I mean, he's 20 years old and he's going to be on a rookie contract for 4 years. You can plug that into a rebuild and be okay as long as your rebuild isn't, building from the ashes here.
Yeah, I mean it has, if your rebuild is taking more than, it's the same thing as with like a Genti. Like you felt okay having him it's the 101 because I mean you shouldn't be projecting to be rebuilding for 5 years, right? Like by the third or fourth year, this guy should be a pivotal part in you contending, and it might even match up like what we're seeing with Genti, where it doesn't start off super hot by second and third, fourth year coming into that rookie fifth year option, like they're taking off, and that's when your team should be taking off. Hopefully, if you're tanking in the right way. So, exactly, if you can't get fair value or even that elevated 101 price that comes, especially as we get closer to the rookie drafts taking place after the combine, after the draft, make the pick and take Jeremiyah Love and be happy. And I mean, you hope that his value only increases once he gets playing, not like Genti where it's kind of either gone down or petered, slightly down. So I definitely think you're happy this year if you have the 101. You're not too upset.
No, not at all. Not at all. All right, let's move on and talk about Jeremiyah Love's college backfield mate in Jadarian Price here with his stats up on the screen. He was running back 2 from PFF standpoint. Again, Notre Dame Fighting Irish. He's 5'11", 210 pounds. He's a little bit older at 22.4 years. He had 113 attempts last year and rushed the ball for 674 yards, 6 receptions for 87 yards, 11 touchdowns. He had 443 yards after contact. He had 11 breakaway attempts, and again, that's going for more than 15 yards. And he ran the ball for 303 yards on those breakaway attempts. He forced 36 missed tackles, and his elusivity rating is 118.6, which, give me a second here, I'll confirm. That's good for third in this class of running backs here. By the way, Jeremiyah Love was first in the elusivity rating there. So, actually, sorry, that's second. I have a guy in my spreadsheet again who Sleeper told me was in the class, but he's actually going back to school. Who I love his name, by the way. It's Hollywood Smothers.
Wow.
I wish he was in this draft, man. That's a
an
great
old
name.
timer, man. Jeez. Yeah, with Jadarian Price, it's always kind of one of those, who was the guy that was playing with Bijan? I guess the fact that his name's not popping up right to the top of my head.
In college or?
Yeah, in college. Who was also draftable. I feel like he was draftable running back. But either way, like it is one of those things that it's like it's two sides of the coin, right? How much better could Jeremiyah Love have been if he got like 70 more touches, right? Like if this guy, if Jadarian Price didn't get 113 attempts and Jeremiyah Love was at 250, right? And then how much better could Jadarian Price? Clearly, he was not somebody they trusted to catch the ball at all, right? Even though Jeremiyah Love is not projecting to be like some sort of Gibbs or super electric pass catcher, Jadarian Price even less so, right? Like with some of the lowest numbers. But what could Jadarian Price be if he was in a backfield by himself, right? Like, but the thing is that are NFL teams ever going to see him as that workhorse, right? Or the ability to have that workhorse, right? I think that's kind of the biggest question when you see these kind of split backfields. But I think right now, according to the NFL NFL mock draft database, right? He's one of the only other running backs that are projected to go in the top 2 rounds. I think he's right at the end of the second round. I think around like 61 or something like that, right? So the top 2 running backs, according to this mock database, right? We don't have all the information. The 2 top running backs are the 2 top guys from Jeremiyah Love, at least in terms of projections where they'll be drafted. So I think his profile is pretty interesting. It's going to come down to like, where does he land and how does a team see him, right? Did they see enough on tape to say, hey, like we can give this guy the full workload, or is he always going to be the backup, or is he always going to be sharing time, right? Like, or can he ever get to a situation where he's a Blake Corum, right? Where he's splitting, Kyron Williams is the guy, but they liked Blake Corum enough, and they're bringing him along where now it's like every other drive, it's Blake Corum, Kyron Williams, Blake Corum, Kyron Williams, right? Like in terms of a fantasy output, that kind of drives you nuts. But it does let you know if there's an injury, he could be that sort of player, right? I think that Jadarian Price, from what we have seen kind of on tape and what he's been able to do, I think he has that ability in him. I think a low end RB2, right? Like splitting time, but a guy that could fill in, right? And even surprise if he's given enough work. I just worry if teams are going to be able to pull the trigger in like with how much running back talent there is in free agency, and then with how much they kind of that position gets pushed down a lot of times. Will they give him the light of day to get enough touches to be relevant, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty wise. Like I see him in the NFL as like a complementary back. I don't see him being a workhorse. He doesn't have a good reception profile coming in, which is worrisome as a fantasy player, right? You want that you want those stats padded on so you can feel good that that that's in the game plan, and he can rely on that to kind of bolster some points here. But even beyond that, right? Like he's not a super explosive runner. I mean, we've seen here 11 breakaway attempts and for 303 yards, and over his college career, he had 31 total for going for 866. In comparison to Jeremiyah Love, who had 44 total for 1,454 yards. So like it pales in comparison. He doesn't force a ton of missed tackles. His elusivity rating is fairly high, but I don't think that captures everything either. And plus, too, he was running behind Jeremiyah Love, right? So like Jeremiyah Love comes and wears out the defense, and then Jadarian Price can come in and kind of just build on what the foundation's already been laid out there for him. When I watched his film, he looked pretty quick. I expect him to run pretty fast at the combine, which will probably raise his draft stock. I think he'll probably be in the 4.4, 4.5 range, probably closer to the 4.5 range, but he can turn a corner really quick. In fact, like when you're watching the highlight reel, like that's pretty much what he does. He gets to the outside and he burns the corner, and then just kind of takes it for as far as he can go. But other than that, like I wasn't super impressed watching his tape. I haven't watched the all 22 yet, so I'm curious to kind of see where he looks, in between the tackles and on pass protection and other things that you want to see your running back do well. But yeah, I turned it on and I saw a highlight reel, and it was either just bad defense or him doing the same thing that we've seen that I just don't feel like would translate to the NFL. So I definitely won't have him as my RB2 going into the rookie draft season here. The guy that I have as RB2, we'll talk about next, which I think you're pretty high on here. But is there any more you want to say on Jadarian Price before we move into Jonah?
No, I mean, like if just ballpark, throw it out, the first number that comes to your head, where would you feel comfortable taking him in a rookie draft? Let's say it's 4 rounds.
I'm probably not swinging on him until the second.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking back of the second, early third. So okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to my boy. Or like I want him to be my boy. Like yeah. Okay, let's just get into it.
I love it. Jonah Coleman. He is a stud. The running back 3 from PFF standards. Played for the Washington Huskies. He's stocky. He's 5'9", but he's 228 pounds. Jeez. And he doesn't look like it either. It's like lean muscle, and he uses every pound of it. It's wild to watch on tape. He's a little bit older, 22 and a half years, so I think he'll be playing as 23 in his first NFL stat. He had almost 1,600 attempts last year, running the ball 758 yards. He had 31 receptions for 346 yards, a total of 15 touchdowns, 562 yards after contact, 11 breakaway attempts for 253 yards. He forced 45 missed tackles. He has a elusivity rating of 85.7, which is fine because he does not need to be elusive. He's going to run you over and run through you. I love this guy, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that's maybe career at Washington. I mean, if they gave him 1,500 attempts, I don't know how he's alive. So maybe our stats there just an extra number. I think it might be like 157.5 or something. Because when I heard you say it, I was like, did I hear wrong? And then I see it on the screen. I'm like, this poor man, maybe they killed him. Is he going to be draftable?
No, he had 157
57.
attempts.
Yeah.
My
Okay,
bad.
that's what I was looking at.
There's an extra 5 in there. Yeah, he's got some real mileage. It's one of his downsides.
He's got more attempts than half the NFL right now. No, but back on track there. Yeah, man. I mean, he's just awesome to like. I don't know, man. Something about a big dude that just can still move, right? Like he's still got some wheels, right? He has decent hands, like his like receiving stats in terms of his usage. You know, he had like I think 13% of reception share, and like it was like 12% of the yardage of the team, right? For a running back, that's not bad. I mean, both those numbers are higher than Jeremiyah Love, I think. So obviously he didn't have the production on the ground, but it tells you that he's not just like the big bruiser that comes in for the goal line and can't catch a pass, can't do nothing else. What I was saying about wanting him to be my guy, he doesn't have the natural talent that I'm like, I want a flag pan on this guy no matter where he goes. I'm just really, really hoping he gets round 2 or really early third round capital, which right now, according to the mock draft database, that's where he's at. He's at 69 overall. So,
nice.
Yeah. So, I really hope that's true. And I really hope the team he goes to works out for him, because I really want him to pan out, because he's just the type of player that I really like watching play, right? Like he's just fun. He's a fun player. He's overall, a decent to good running back. Like I think he still has the ability, obviously with his size, to finish runs. Sometimes some of these big guys don't always have that, but he does finish runs. I think he'll be a threat at the goal line for any team, right? Kind of like we saw Judkins come in and he was the goal line guy from day one as the running back. He's obviously got a low center of gravity with that size. He still has agility. He can still make people miss, right? Like what you were saying, like he still has the ability to make people just miss, not just run them over. And he has his hands. This sounds really weird the way I'm trying to go about this, but he has like natural like hands. Like he looks like a guy that's not hard for him to catch the pass. Like he doesn't struggle. He looks very natural catching the ball out of the backfield. Some guys, you feel like they're really worried about catching it and what they're going to do next and all this stuff. He does seem like a guy that does not care that he's coming out of the backfield to catch a pass, a swing pass, whatever, the screen, whatever it is.
I know what you're talking about. It's just smooth. Like the transition from him catching the ball to him like taking off full speed, it's almost seamless. It's wild to watch. Like you see it on tape. Like, and honestly, like I was kind of impressed about the quarterback, like him just delivering a decent ball to him on the move every time, because he's very bursty. Like he and this is what I liked about him. He had really great vision. He's patient. Patient with great vision is like just such a fine mixture that so many running backs don't have. And on top of that, he has insane burst. So as soon as he knows where that hole is, he hits it, and he hits it hard. He does lack like a little bit of top end speed, which I noticed. Like he can kind of get out into the secondary, but the secondary catches up to him at some point. So that's not I'm not crazy about that, but when the secondary does get there, he just lowers his pads and it goes right through them, which is a lot of fun. He also changes direction incredibly well, which I think kind of goes into his burst. Like he has this jump cut where he can kind of like okay, you're not gonna like this comp, but I saw a lot of RJ Harvey and Jonah Coleman here, and like there's a lot of parallels between having really great burst and like great vision and being able to kind of change directions. I still believe in RJ Harvey. The system he landed in it's just not great. But nonetheless, I couldn't help watching Jonah Coleman and maybe this doesn't ring true for a lot of people here because you were talking about the comps wanting to be more recent, but I'm a 49er fan, and I couldn't help but see Frank Gore when watching Jonah Coleman. Like it just like the way Frank Gore was saw the hole and bursted through it and hit it, and they're the same size too, like as in terms of height and weight. He's not quite as fast as Frank Gore. Like Frank Gore could like separate and then take off and take it. So I think he won't be as explosive. But like if he lands well, like honestly, I could see the 49ers drafting Jonah Coleman, and I would be happy to take him, as the Christian McCaffrey backup and kind of protege going forward, especially if he does kind of sneak into the second or third round. Like I could see the 49ers kind of pulling the trigger on a guy like that. If they're looking to do that, I think they need to rebuild defense, and it's probably not smart to go after a guy like Jonah Coleman now. But yeah, I just couldn't help but see Frank Gore, and so like I automatically want him to be a 49er now.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. I mean, those are the type of guys you really enjoyed watching because he could do kind of everything, right? Like there was nothing you couldn't ask him to do, and you kind of hope Jonah Coleman can kind of develop into that. I think the biggest thing that kind of helps his production because he didn't have the usage and the yards per carry necessarily that you want coming out, right? Like I'm sure in people's what is it called? Their process, he's not hitting great statistically because of that. Is that receiving work, right? Like if he was the rushing attempts and the rush share and all that stuff that he had in the yards, but didn't have the receiving work, this guy would probably be like, not even worth maybe even talking. Like, like he would not be looking at the end of the second, beginning of the third. But I mean, back-to-back years at Washington, having those receptions and yards, I think is a good sign that he could be a bell cow somewhere, right? Like if a team saw him, he has the build, he has the ability. He's a little bit older prospect, but I think with running backs especially, you're gonna see this more and more, like these older guys, and you just have to accept that, like, for Dynasty, you're probably just looking at a 3 to 4 year window with these guys. And especially if they're not going in the first round and getting that automatic 5th-year option. So yeah, man, I'm really hoping that the combine and the draft does well for him. Like I want to see him go somewhere, excuse me, successful and where he can thrive.
Yeah, man, bell cow, like who needs more receptions when you have almost 1,600 attempts? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you got the whole, 5 teams worth of carries there.
That's right. That's right. All right, let's move on here to Emmett Johnson. He was running back 4 in terms of PFF's big board from the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Can we talk about the names for these college teams? Like they couldn't come up with like the Scarecrows. That's way better than the Cornhuskers, right? I mean,
who were you talking about last time? Was
the Hoosiers, Hoosiers,
the Whovilles, or there's some people. Now we're getting tens of thousands, but there's some one guy listening real mad right now. He's like, what did you say about my Nebraska or my my Hoosiers? Like, yeah,
I'm just saying, man. Like Cornhuskers aren't really inspiring fear.
I mean, what else is going on in Nebraska? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of corn there, I'm guessing.
I mean, they could have been the John Deeres, and I would have been more terrified. All right, yeah. Let's get on with it. He's 5'11", 200 pounds, 22.4 years old. He had a reasonable 250 attempts.
There you go.
For 1,450 yards, 46 receptions, going for 370 yards on 12 touchdowns, 740 yards after contact, 13 breakaway attempts, going for 404 yards, 89 missed tackles force, still only bolstering an elusivity rating of 88.3. So yeah, man, I don't know how much you know about Emmett Johnson. I actually haven't watched tape on him yet. Looking at the analytics on him, they leave me desiring more, I guess is a good way to put it. But I guess, do you have other thoughts on him?
Sorry, I was muted there, just coughing. But I mean, I think the attempt percentage from his team is pretty high. The yardage, right? I think all the some of the numbers are decent, right? They're not that high end that you are hoping it's Nebraska. Like, what is the competition? There's a lot of things to kind of take into account there. But I think he is a sneaky guy, like one of these guys that could surprise, and depending on how he tests and depending on the draft, could be one of those guys that we're looking at who you're more pleasantly surprised you have the 109, 110 maybe, right? Like a lot of things kind of have to come into play. I haven't seen a ton of tape on him, but I've watched some people who I trust, like who analyze prospects, and they analyze them more for like an NFL side more than a fantasy side, talk about Emmett Johnson. But they think he's pretty decent. I mean, in terms of like the big board, the mock draft database, he's right there, pretty much also early third, right behind Jonathan Coleman, I think at like 75 overall. He's kind of like, right now you have Jeremiyah Love, and then you have the 3-pack of the guys we've just talked about, including Emmett Johnson. They're kind of like end of the second, beginning of the third round, and then it's kind of a big jump down to some of the other names we're going to talk about, at least in where the NFL sees them going. So in terms of like the whole picture, I think he's a guy that could maybe raise his stock the most on this in these running backs that we're talking about, just because he did have a large share of like his team's play. But like, who was there, right? Like, there's a lot to analyze. Like, who was he running with? Did he have anybody even comparing both to Jadarian Price running behind him? What was that offense like? There's a lot of things to analyze. I do like him, and I do think he's maybe a sneaky guy that his name might be rising in the coming weeks with some of the things that are going to happen for rookies.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's leave it at that, because I don't really have more to add, and we're running long here. So let's move on to the next guy here that we want to talk about, which is Kaytron Allen. He's the running back 9 in terms of PFF big boards. They have some other guys going in there, but he's from the Penn State Nittany Lions. He's 5 feet 11 inches. I know you're thinking. I'm thinking it too. I don't even know what a Nittany is, but at least they're a lion. 5'11", 219 pounds, a little bit older, 23.1 years. He had 210 attempts for 1,300 yards, 18 receptions going for 68 yards, 15 touchdowns, 792 yards after contact. You had 17 breakaway runs going for 527 yards, 62 forced missed tackles with an elusivity rating of 102.6. Yeah, I like Kaytron Allen. I think he's more the analytical profile I'm going after. He doesn't really have that elusivity rating to kind of boast what he is, but I mean, he's also played a lot longer. I think he's played 4 seasons in college, but even as a freshman, he had a pretty good analytical profile with 167 yards for 167 attempts for 864 yards. And he only continued that going forward. I like the explosive run style that he kind of brings to the table here, where he has 1,300 breakaway yards and forcing 201 missed tackles over his career. So over 4 seasons, that's like 50 a year, which is really great. Yeah, I'm in on Kaytron Allen. I think I'll probably be taking him over Jadarian Price when it comes to it. I don't know. It's going to be landing spot dependent more than likely, but as a prospect, I like him over Jadarian Price, I think.
We're also going to talk about his backfield mate, and since we're running a little long on time, do you want to just hit that, and we can maybe just like hit them together, since they both were there together, Nicholas Singleton?
Yeah, we can. The hard part about Nick Singleton is he broke his foot in the Senior Bowl. So he's not going to be at the combine. He is likely going to miss some of rookie OTAs and training camp. So it's hard talking about him. But yeah, let's dive into what he was. He was RB6 from PFF, 6 foot even, 224 pounds, 21.2 years old. He had 124 attempts for 547 yards, 24 receptions going for 219 yards, 13 touchdowns, having 334 yards after contact, 3 breakaway attempts going for 128 yards, 26 missed forced tackles, And that elusivity rating is not 473, that is 47.3. I missed a decimal there. That, I blame the editor, really. Like,
Yeah.
he should have caught this stuff.
Yeah. What are we paying that guy for?
I don't know, man.
No, yeah. I mean, I wanted to talk about them together because I think it could be an interesting dynamic always when backfield mates come out and it's not so clear, like Jeremiyah Love over Jadarian Price, where it's very clear that there's a guy you prefer. I think there could be, and in the broken foot, although it's a broken foot, so it's not like a torn
Yeah.
ACL where you're like worried maybe down the line. I think, between these two guys, I think there is a diamond in the rough here. It's going to be like, who do you personally like more? I mean, I remember Singleton was really hype. I think his freshman season, he had a
Yeah.
crazy freshman season. Unfortunately, it didn't seem like in college he really built on that. Like he didn't really continue to produce or get better or maintain a level. It seemed like he spiked and then he kind of just slowly came down, and then they added Kaytron Allen, who's been there, and he's kind of taken more and more of the work. So I think it's a little sad to see what he maybe could have been, but at least you saw that in college what he had. I think his from again, like I'm not a scout, but I do trust some people. Like people talk about him having like first round traits. Like he has the traits of a first round running back, but he doesn't use them all on the field, right? Like his size, his speed, his ability doesn't always come through with what you can see flashes of, right? If you go back and look at that freshman tape, you see a completely different guy, at least down to down than you do now. And that's talking about, since we're talking about team together, Nicholas Singleton. I haven't gotten a chance to see a ton of Kaytron Allen, but in terms of like this last year, he was definitely the better producing talent. So, I think between these two guys, there is a decent NFL running back to be found. Obviously, there's a lot of questions still left, and the fact that we won't see anything from Singleton might make him like one of those late round dart throws that you're like, hey, like maybe a lot of people are going to forget about this guy because they're not going to hear any news. He might slip. He might be a guy you can get in your third round. So, but I think between the two of them, there is somebody there that I think could emerge as a good NFL running back.
Yeah, I think Singleton probably has the better pass catching profile of the two, which I like. I think one thing that we should note here is since they both played 4 years in college, they have a ton of wear on them. I mean, Singleton ran for 625 attempts in college, and Kaytron Allen ran for 768 attempts. So like they bring in quite the mileage coming into the NFL, which is something that we definitely want to look at. I think there's the running back cliff is based on number of attempts, and I want to say it's something like 1,500 or something like that is when we start to get concerned or start to look at it. And some people extrapolate that through college and then into the NFL. So I mean, still like that's roughly like 8 to 10 years of usage. But when they come in with 4 of those years, already on the docket, it's definitely something to look at. And they are older prospects as well, or at least Kaytron Allen is of the two. Yeah, I don't know. I think I like Kaytron Allen's prospect analytics better than Nicholas Singleton, but I think they both are fine. And yeah, I think I will swing on Singleton if you can kind of get him into the third, if he falls into it. But something tells me that's not going to happen unless we get crazy draft capital for these wide receivers and we see like 6 wide receivers go in round 1 and then we see another like 10 wide receivers go on day 2. Then I think that might push these, what I assume will be day 3 running backs, a little bit further out into the rookie picks here. And you might get some value on them, especially like you said, since he's got a broken foot and there won't be a ton of buzz about Nick Singleton. But
yeah, I mean, I think with all the running backs, though, I mean, you're going to get your Jeremiyah Loves, who is going to come out at 20.7, probably play his first year at 21. But I think most of the class, like, I think it's just the way it's trending for the position. I think you're going to just get more and more guys that are in 22, 23 years old. Like,
yeah,
Nicholas Singleton is 22.1, so he just turned 22. So, but I just think that's the way that the college game is going. And I think analytics sometimes has a hard time catching up to the present shifts that are happening. And it's just like you kind of just got to take that into account. Like some of these guys are just going to be older. Like a guy that's 23 is not necessarily going to completely scare me off just because of that age. And the craziest thing is, I mean, Nicholas Singleton has the lowest, I think, of the entire class breakout age. I mean, he was doing what I always forget the receiver for Alabama, the one that everybody's super hyped for next year, or is it Ohio State? I can't remember. Something Smith.
Jeremiah Smith.
I think so. Is that who it is?
He plays for Ohio. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He did what Jeremiah Smith was doing for running backs. Like he broke out when he was 18 years old in his freshman year. So
yeah, he had 1,000 yards that first season.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard because that was 4 years ago and he hasn't really lived up to that sense. But I mean, it is part of the draft equation. So
yeah, he's fast as AF, boy. Like, I mean, I think they got him clocked at 23.6 on GPS. At least that's what it's been documented. And you never know how in college they like to fudge the numbers. So 23.6 would be bonkers, right? I mean, we've seen the fastest guys in the NFL are usually around that 22 mark. So that would surprise me a little bit. And unfortunately, like, we won't get a 40 time from him to kind of confirm or deny that speed. So you're going to have to take a gamble on it. Okay, let's move out of it here. Is there any other guys, I already know the answer to this, that you want to talk about that we should feel like we should mention?
Wait, you know something I don't? Who are you thinking of?
I like Mike Washington Jr. I think he's got a pretty decent analytical profile. That one would be highly landing spot dependent for me, but yeah, I know Chev, who's on Rookie HQ. He's everywhere really, but he's over on Rookie HQ, and he does a lot of good prospect work. I know he likes Mike Washington Jr. quite a bit as kind of like a sleeper. And another guy that I like, but I mean the analytics don't really back it up, but I think that he has good film, is Jam Miller from Alabama. And he was dealing with some injuries last year, so he didn't really get the chance to put it all on tape for his final year here. But those are the two I would like. And I would say Hollywood Smothers, just because he's got a really good name, but we're going to have to wait a year for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like one of these throw out a guy. Damon Claiborne from Wake Forest is a guy that is decent. Yeah, I mean, like that's kind of what we're talking about. Like Mike Washington Jr. is going to be 24 when he enters the NFL. So, I don't think that necessarily has to, scare you off completely. It is part of the puzzle, but I think analytics need to catch up a little bit in terms of like, hey man, like people are just saying in college right now with NIL, with everything going on, they're just in the transfer portal, letting you, go here, go there, continue your career. I think is just part of the natural thing of life, and like, just a thing to adjust to.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I mean, it's the more we move on, like I feel like these age apexes are just kind of gonna get moved further and further out with the advancements in medicine and science that we have already now. I mean, we're already seeing it with our wide receivers. We have Devontae Adams, and we have like Mike Evans. I mean, shoot, you have Derrick Henry putting up the numbers that he did at, how old is he? 31?
Yeah, I think older, no?
That dude's a beast. I mean, we're going to see these age apexes kind of pushed further and further out. So it makes sense that these guys are kind of entering the league a little bit later. And I think we need to adjust our priors on what that means for these prospects.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Cool. Well, that's all we got for you guys today. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Let us know if there's something you feel like we missed, if there's a prospect you guys like. Drop it in the comments below. We're going to tackle the tight ends next, which is going to be a beast. Buckle up, because there's a lot of them. But we'll do our best to break those down for you guys and point out the ones that we like. Thanks for listening, guys. We appreciate you, and I look forward to next week. Yep.
Thank you guys for listening. As always, you can find us Future First Pod on YouTube. If you're finding us through the Player Profiler Now network, we're available wherever you can get your podcasts. Just look for Future First Pod. We appreciate any likes, comments, subscriptions. Don't forget to enter our giveaway for a free roster view. And that's it, guys. We're out.
Peace.